our world. Tiffany, do you want to start this time?
Sure. So, of course, Nikola Tesla was a big inspiration, and so I read one of the biographies of him, and I really enjoyed learning more about him, particularly just his quirkiness, his absolute. He was repulsed by the touch of human flesh. He did not like it. If he did not want to be touched, and he did not want to touch people. He was a really snappy dresser, and he did not like it if you were not. He actually fired a woman in his office for being dowdy and unkempt. Yes, I know, right? Yeah, he really had a thing for being well dressed, apparently. He was. He never fell in love with anyone. He never allowed himself to have any romantic attachments, except as he got older, he fell in love with a dove. I said that, yes, I meant what I said. A dove. He fell in love with a white dove when he was an old man, and she was like his guiding light. He had never loved any human before. It was very interesting, and he specifically said he was at one time New York's most eligible bachelor, and they asked him why he wasn't in any relationships, and he said because it would take him away from his science, which I think is I think it's kind of admirable. I mean, considering his mind was going constantly. He invented so much stuff that you probably don't even know is it actually attributed to him, and he had so many plans. He very much believed that he would be able to build like an army of automatons that would basically do everything for us that we didn't want to have to do. And he probably could have if he'd gotten the right sort of funding. He believed that we could have wireless electricity around the globe all the time, and he was determined to build that, and unfortunately his backers backed out on him. Anyway, so that was really fun to research all of that. And then as I was researching just London in general, I was very fortunate that I won a grant from the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators to go to London, and it helped me very much in just getting the place in my head, picking which buildings I sort of wanted to transport from London over to New London. It's kind of fun to walk down the street and go, I want this one, and I want this one. And I spent a lot of time in the British Natural History Museum, actually. A lot of the Museum of Unnatural History in my book is based on that. And because of my interest in Victorian naturalists, pretty much Vespa's father is based on Richard Owen, who started the museum in Britain. And Richard Owen is one of those truth is even stranger and better than fiction kind of guys, because he was just plain evil. I mean, he gave us all these wonderful things, and he's the person who came up with the term dinosaur. We owe that to him. But he also liked to steal other people's work and publish it as his own. And he had this one rival that he couldn't stand. And I'm still going to use this in the book, so it's mine, so you can't have it. But he had a rival who died before him, and the man had he took a piece of his spine and put it in a jar and put it on his desk.
Cool.
Is that not the best thing ever? I mean, just seriously. So like all this stuff I found out like as I was researching, and I couldn't use all of it, but it's still up here and it's still going to be used in some capacity. But yeah, how did he get it? I don't know. And
I'm gonna put some weird guy, a family member's spine.
I know, right? How does this even paid off somebody in the morgue? Resurrectionists? I don't have any idea, but it's pretty cool. He had Gideon Mantell. Gideon Mantell was his rival's name. He had Mantell's spine on his desk, like a piece of his. Why his spine? Anyway, I won't go there. So it's cool stuff like that that really was fun for me as I was researching, and I'm trying to think what else. And then of course, having been in Beijing for this book was also a lot of fun. I used the Forbidden City as sort of the old the lost city that my characters go to. So, well, actually, I sort of mixed up Xi'an and Beijing because I used the Terracotta Warriors, if you've ever seen pictures of those, only I made them into automatons. So, anyway, you have a lot to look forward to. And which direction should I go? You, Megan? All right.
Well, I talked a little bit about some of the science that the different characters in my book are working on, and I have zero science background. I don't really have much interest in medicine, so all that was new to me and required a lot of research. And as I said, don't Google it. But the thing about, modern day readers versus readers who would have been reading these classics is that they don't buy just saying like, oh, then he took a serum and he changed into Jekyll, or he changed into like Mr. Hyde. Like they want actual plausible sounding science, which is very difficult because this stuff can't actually happen. And it's true, like if you go back and read Jekyll and Hyde, all he does is like take a serum. And it never says what's in the serum or like how it works and physically, it just takes a serum. So I had to do a lot of research to try to, of course, it's not possible, but make it sound like it would be plausible. And I had a few different doctor friends read each of my books to make sure I wasn't, unintentionally killing some of my characters. Which my father-in-law, who's a doctor, read an arc of The Madman's Daughter, and I think there's a scene where the main character was being like injected with chloroform, and he was like, "Oh, she would have died." Like he found like 3 or 4 places where she would have died. So thank goodness I can lean on experts when it comes to research. But yeah, it was a real thrill, and yeah, those Victorians are definitely quirky people,
Wacky.
for sure.
Yeah, they're really wacky.
My research was less science and more pretty dresses. I'm just gonna put that out there. Because one of the things, I tend to be in my first drafts as sort of a sparer writer. I have a lot of dialogue and some movements, but people sort of exist in sort of plain boxes, I guess. And so one of the first notes that my editor gave me when she bought Born Wicked was that I needed to ruffle my corsets more. That she really loved this sort of sensuousness, the romanticism of the 1890s world building, but she wanted to see more of that. And so I spent a lot of time, there's an amazing Tumblr called OMG That Dress, that collects links to different collections of like historical fashion. And so I looked at a lot, I did a lot of research into the home decor of that period, the technology, how the gas lights would work, how, carriages, that kind of thing, like just really trying to, it didn't have to all be historically accurate because it's an alternate version of 1890s New England where they've had magic and things have developed differently, but I wanted to give it that sort of sense of writing letters and candlelight and gaslight and, dresses with bustles and, scandalous to show a hint of skin and all of that. And that was really fun to come up with outlandish, the 1890s fashion was very bright. And so it was really fun for me to come up with, some of my main character, Kate, is not much of a clothes horse, but some of her friends are. So to have them wearing like orange dress with pink stripes and a pink feather in her hair and that kind of thing was, super fashionable at the time. And so that was really fun too. Yes, see, I like it. My character Sachi would really be super into that. So yeah, that was really fun for me to develop sort of the fashion and the little details of the world, just that make you, I hope, feel like you were right there in the room with the characters. So.
I did a lot of research for my book because there are, none of those places exist yet or exist in the same way. Some of the really fun researchy things that I did was I spent a lot of time online looking up curse words in Hindi. wow, there are a lot of websites devoted to curse words